All right, B-listers, you know the drill.
This is your official spoiler alert for the episode.
If you don't want any spoilers, stop the episode now.
And if you don't care about spoilers, hold on to your seats because this episode starts
Now.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Court.
And hello, fellow B critics. Welcome to another episode of the B Critics Podcast.
This movie is something different. It's still like in the comedy realm, but also has some scary to it, which is super fun. It's got a great cast. There's lots of colors, which we love.
And it's one of our spooky season movies. So definitely pay attention. But before we really get into it, let's tell the people where to find us.
Right. So you can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and we're also on Threads. But you can follow us at bcriticspodcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube and follow our Instagram for all the best movie content.
Okay, I think it's time to get into the episode.
Our guest critics for this episode are Jake and Dustin. They're the hosts of the Movie Boners podcast. Hi, guys. Welcome to the B Critics.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Great to be here.
All right. So just real quick, why don't y'all tell the people who you are, how you're associated with the movie industry, and then tell us a little bit about the Movie Boners.
We're the Movie Boners podcast, boners with a Z, so it's not weird.
That's important.
As the name implies, it's all about how excited we are about movies. I guess our connection to the industry is that we give them a lot of our money when we watch their movies.
That's a good thing.
And the podcast is basically just about that, being average Joes who enjoy movies and trying to bring positivity back to a space that's gotten very critical, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would agree.
So we talk about all the stuff we love.
That's so funny because somebody was literally asking me yesterday, like, how much money do you think you spend renting movies on Amazon? I was like, probably way too much.
Yeah, I'm a physical copy guy still, so I just buy the movies.
Oh.
Lots of money.
That's fun.
Actually, that's kind of the way to go because if you think about it, like when you buy movies, even if you buy them like on a service like Amazon, like what happens if you lose your Amazon account or Amazon goes under? Like you don't own that movie anymore. So.
Or they'll they'll not renew the license for that movie, and even though you own it, they'll just remove it from your account, and it doesn't really, you never really own it.
That's so annoying.
Yeah.
But then the problem becomes like, how do you even play your physical movies? Because I have a PlayStation, so like that's a thing.
You can play them on your PlayStation.
But what if my PlayStation dies? Like I'm probably not going to buy a new one.
I have a Blu-ray player.
You can buy a DVD player for like $15.
Can you really?
Yes.
Yeah. You can get them wicked
Okay.
They're stupid cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how long is that going to last though? Like, do you think they're going to stay around? Or are they...
No, you have to buy like a bunch of different ones and store them in your closet in case they die.
Just in case the apocalypse comes?
It's part of the apocalypse, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got your canned goods, and
Yeah.
then you have your Blu-ray player, so...
A little solar power to power your TV,
There
and
you
you're
go.
good to go.
Bam!
Yeah. Or they'll just become like record players and they'll become like more and more expensive as time goes on.
Could be a little vintage hip.
They'll come back.
Okay, well, if we haven't convinced y'all as in the audience enough to go buy a DVD player, I think it's time to rein it in and tell the people what we're going to be talking about today. So do y'all want to go ahead and introduce the movie?
Yes.
Sure.
I did the pod, so Dustin, you do the movie.
All right, so we're talking about, it's kind of a hidden gem. I haven't met too many people that have actually come across it, but highly recommend you should. It's The Final Girls. It's kind of a fun play on that horror film trope of the final girl in a slasher film particularly. It's a great little fun adventure, I guess, into slasher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk
It's
about
very
it.
accessible, I think.
Yeah.
Accessible to people that aren't huge horror fans.
Yeah.
Because it is very
Yeah, we're
funny.
looking at you,
It has a
Liz.
lot of heart in it, too.
Oh, I loved it. I had so much fun
Love
with
the
this.
call out. It's so
Good.
true, though. I mean, that's exactly who it's made for, is people that like want to be feeling the spooky season, but they want like a nice little PG-13 movie that doesn't have that much slasher in it. And it has comedy.
There were some jump scares, okay? Like, there were a couple of moments where you're like, whoa, okay. But
Yeah, it's just enough.
Okay, so now do we get to crack open our beers?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
we
Dustin
should.
and Jake were nice enough to send us some beers, and because they do this on their podcast, and it's on theme for the movie. So the beer is called Cabin in the Woods Winter Ale.
I brought the other one too. It's a fest beer, German style lager, which
Nice.
is like, it's Oktoberfest right now, so that makes sense. And
Yeah.
lots of fun colors.
The only difference is that this movie we're talking about summer camp, not winter cabin in the woods. But
Well, this one says, the luminous amber color of this lager announces a perfect beer for the transition from summer into fall.
okay,
That's
okay.
where we're at. It's also on theme. So that's the thing that we do is every episode we open a beer and try to get beers that are on theme for that
I was going to say we
episode.
try.
And
we try.
Cabin in the Woods, try really hard. And Cabins in the Woods was particularly fun because I think this movie is very similar to the movie Cabin in the Woods, which is a comedy meta take on horror movies. There's a lot shared there, so I thought.
Yeah, I
worked.
think it works perfectly. I'm obsessed. So okay, let's crack open. I'm ready.
Okay.
Amazing. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, I forgot
Ooh,
my
yeah, that's
Be
really good.
Critics koozie. Where
I beat you to it.
No.
Man, I love just being able
Yeah,
to
you
hold
did. I
on
was
to my
prepared
little
it
beer here.
I know, it's such good grip. And I keep it nice and chilled.
Just like holds perfect fit.
It's almost like it's
know,
made
so
to go
comfortable.
around cans.
It's almost like
I
it.
could hold
Yeah.
it all day.
Okay, let's start talking about the movie. Liz, would you like to give us the movie of the episode?
Yes. In the wake of her movie star mother's death, Max is asked to attend a double feature of Camp Bloodbath, one of her mother's cult classics. During the showing, a freak accident occurs, and Max and her friends somehow end up in the movie. They must use their knowledge of slasher tropes in the Camp Bloodbath storyline to survive and fight their way out. Or have they?
Ooh.
Bum,
I like
bum,
it.
bum.
This is always ending these with a question.
Gotta keep them. You know, some people watch our episodes before ever having watched the movies, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe if I leave with a question, they'll be like, oh, maybe I should, you know, watch it first.
So
Hopefully.
Yeah, as if the recommendation wasn't enough.
So this movie is okay. So it's listed here, hour 28. I just looked on Wikipedia. It says 91 minutes. I'm pretty sure this movie is exactly 92 minutes long because that's how long
Yeah.
they say that the movie within the movie is, and so that's how long they make this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've already established it's a horror comedy movie, and it's PG-13.
Which is kind of crazy, I feel, because the topic, the slasher
Yeah.
movie, it's hard to do a commentary on that without nudity and
Well,
violence.
especially
Yeah.
commentary
Stuff that
on
comes with it.
Friday the 13th in particular, whose
Yes.
basis is if you have sex in this film or if there's nudity, you're going to die.
It's kind of the same thing in this movie. It's like as soon as the
Yeah.
girls take their tops off, then they die.
Right.
Right?
It gives me
Right.
Mean Girl vibes.
I guess it's a fun way to
Dies.
reach a
The gym teacher.
It's a fun way to reach a PG-13 rating is you get them to not take their tops off, and get
Right,
them to
right.
not have sex.
I
and
mean,
way
that
you
does
can achieve
become kind of a
PG-13
mission
rating.
in the film of like, no. Shirt stay on. You stay away from him. Like,
Keep your pants on.
Well, so it's actually interesting because New Line Cinema originally had this film, and they actually wanted to drop the like mother-daughter plot within it and have it be like more slasher. So they wanted it to go towards that like R rating direction. But Sony Pictures bought the rights under Stage 6 Films and they were like okay with keeping it like in this PG-13 direction.
It's a good call. The mother-daughter angle, I think, is the best part, honestly.
I agree.
It's cute.
As much of a fan as I am of like 80s style slasher films and Friday the 13th in particular, I kind of am very
Just
glad
general
they
violence.
did not go more of the slasher route. I think the mother-daughter storyline, it's the strength of the film. The comedy's really great, but their storyline is fantastic.
It makes it unique.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Jake, to your point, it makes it accessible. Like teenagers can watch this film and
also
enjoy
true.
it, and like it's not too far in that like scary, violent realm.
Yeah.
Or someone like Liz. Yeah, so it came out in 2015, and it was directed by Todd Strauss-Schulson, and it has a really, really notable cast, and we'll get into it a lot more in detail. But we've got Tasia Farmiga, Malin Ackerman, Nina Dobrev, Adam Devine, Chloe Bridges, Elia Shawcott, and many other people too who aren't mentioned. And then this film premiered at South by Southwest and then had like a limited theatrical run. Okay. Are we ready to get into it?
I think so.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
let's do it.
Okay. So let's start by talking about the writing. So we have a script by, he's listed as M.A. Fortin and Joshua John Miller. And what I think is really interesting is that Joshua John Miller, so he was the one who like came up with the idea for the movie, or like the premise of the movie. And he did it as a way of dealing with the death of his own dad, Jason Miller, who had starred as Father Karras in The Exorcist in 1973. Yeah.
Yeah, that has a lot more meaning, personal meaning, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm sure, like, he probably sees that movie everywhere. It's like a constant reminder for him.
It's
a huge one.
almost like the definition of iconic horror. Yeah. But I think that's awesome that he was able to use writing this film as a way of like processing and kind of dealing with grief and all that. Jake knows how often I preach how important I feel movies are and how like they can get anyone through anything, just like music. That just to me feels like, yeah, validation. See, people? I'm right.
Yeah.
No, totally agree. Like movies, like how,
Yeah.
okay, so people say that they like to listen to breakup songs or like sad songs because it makes them emotional and it gets them like out of that like down feeling that they're feeling. And same thing with movies.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the emotions in movies can like get you through something. And so definitely applicable in this one. And I love that it's a twist of comedy and this like really cool like grief story.
Yeah, perfect combination.
Also, love all the dialogue. All the writing of the dialogue in the movie was fantastic. The cast was also encouraged to go off script throughout the movie. So there's a ton.
Yeah, which I totally believe.
Yes.
It's-
Adam Devine.
I was gonna
and
say,
Thomas
when you've
Middleditch
got Adam
especially are
Yes.
really funny dudes.
That's
I think it's
just-
Adam
yeah.
Devine.
You gotta
right?
let him go.
Adam
Is it Divine?
I think
Yeah.
it's Devine.
Devine? Okay.
Because it's pronounced the same way as Levine, like Adam Levine. And so people get them confused.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up on the internet before this and it told me Divine. So who
Well.
knows?
Guess that's what
Internet's
you get for
always-
trusting the internet.
The first response that came up
Exactly.
on Google, that's 100% right. Yeah, but they were so good. I just like I was like actually like laughing out loud so much throughout this movie.
Yeah, I still do. I've seen it a bunch, and I still laugh all the time.
Yeah.
So we've got really, really cool like effects and cinematography too. So I want to start by talking about the slasher effects, because we mentioned like this is a PG-13 movie and it has slasher effects in it, which you would think would like bring it into that R-rated realm. But they didn't go that far with it, but we still got the slasher feeling in this movie. So it was like, to me, it was gory and believable, but it was like just fake enough that somebody who doesn't love that like R-rated slasher could enjoy it.
Yeah, it was more like
Yeah, not super
fun
bloody.
versus like scary.
Yeah,
very
I would
much,
agree.
Very much.
You're like, oh
Yeah,
my
and-
gosh, instead of being like, yikes, that was bad.
Yeah, and always treated fairly comedically. So even if somebody is dying, you're not distraught about it.
Or they like show back up. You're like, that guy's definitely dead. And they're like, no, I'm not dead. And then they get hit by a car. And you're like, what?
That one sequence where like, I'm trying to remember, like, Duncan, is that his name? Yeah, right. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
Thomas
he's for
Middleditch.
sure gonna die, and he like doesn't die, and you're like, wait, what's gonna happen? And then like finally he does, and you're like, oh my god.
But then they're all alive at the end somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been through like getting the body like sliced in half and like all
Because the
this crazy
sequel
stuff.
is
It's
so
like,
much
okay, you
cooler
lived
than
through
the
that.
first one.
Love it. And then cinematography. There's actually a lot to talk about with this movie, surprisingly, for it just being like a comedy slasher movie. I think it was really well made and well thought out for being like a pretty low budget film. I think this movie only had like a $4.5 million budget, but we've got Ellie Smokelin, who's the cinematographer, and she shot it with a 5K full frame, and they used a lot of like sky replacements throughout the movie. I don't know if y'all noticed that.
Yeah, I feel like I heard that every scene the sky was replaced.
Yeah, you could tell, but it looked cool.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was pretty.
It was so
It has a
pretty
good-
and colorful.
Yeah, it was like extra moody and especially at the end, but even at the beginning when her mom's going to that interview, it's like it's like just a perfect sunset. It makes you feel all warm and
It's so
fuzzy
pretty.
as you're
And
supposed to.
then
So pretty. And then my favorite part of the way it was shot is that throughout we get these really cool motion control sequences. So it's where they like use the zooming effects in this like camera that's kind of like hanging on a, I forget what it's called, like a it's not a dolly.
Like a trolley
It's not a
thing?
dolly. It's like a rig, kind of like a crane, sort of.
Like
A boom.
thing.
Yeah. That's the word I'm thinking of. But they are able to do these really cool shots like in one scene by using these like motion control sequences. So, okay, I actually have like the bit written down here. So they used a Genuflex MK3 by General Lift. It's a programmable motion control camera that can track 7 feet per second and swing, pan, tilt, and roll 360 degrees, all while automatically focusing a camera. So
That's intense.
yeah, super intense. And that's what allowed them
That's
to
a little
get
crazy.
yeah, really, really crazy. But you could, like, it was so cool. Like, there's the scene where they're in
Yeah.
the movie theater, you know, like, and they're about to jump into the movie. And there's like a motion control shot in that scene that I think is really cool. And then probably like the most famous one when you watch this movie is the booby trap scene when they're trying to like trap the killer. Yeah, they did that like in all one take. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That is cool.
it was smart for them to do
Turned
that.
out really well, too. That's a fun sequence.
It's a really, really fun sequence. I watched a YouTube video of like the behind the scenes of it and just like seeing people like running around and then back in the shot and like you can kind of see like behind. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, all the chaos.
Then we've got a bunch of dolly shots throughout the movie. And they use this like technique where they would hide zooms in the dolly shots. So like they would do the dolly and then like do the zoom while they were doing like moving through the scene basically. But they use like the dolly when they're entering and exiting the cabin in the summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. We've also got black and white scenes. used in the film to be flashbacks within the movie.
That's one of my favorite parts of this movie is the flashback sequences. It's so well done.
I love the transition and how it starts just like creeping in, and then they do a lot of like that spinning effect to kind of transport them to the past in this black and white world.
Yes.
And the other great part is because they're in the movie, all of the on-screen movie elements like text and stuff is physically in the world also with them. So they have to like step over the text that says it.
Yes. I love that we got the feel of like you were in the movie while in the movie. It's kind of like Inception.
Yeah.
Right. When the whole like transition started happening, I was like looking at it and I was like, all right, are they going to be like underwater? Like what is about to happen here? And like it made sense after the fact. But I also thought it was like super smart that they like used all of that when they were trying to kill the slasher. They would be like, like call a whatever scene, and then she'd be like, what do you mean? Like, just do it. Yeah, which was cool.
Yeah, force the story into a new flashback.
I really liked the element that they knew they were within the movie, and so they could like kind of control it or anticipate that things were going to happen or like manipulate the story. Like I thought that was so fun.
Got to use it to their advantage,
Yeah, they did use it to their advantage. It was cool.
And it also like changes, which is interesting because it starts out with knowing how the movie goes and trying to follow it. But then, well, it doesn't help that Duncan is the first one.
I was about to say they lose their main source of info.
How does he even have the info? They just like decided he had the info.
It's a cult classic.
Oh,
he's
a super
the
fan.
nerd.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
He gets her to go to the festival or whatever, double feature. And so they should be following him, but then he dies, which does two things. It makes them lose their guide through the movie, but then also you realize that they're not just observing it from within the movie. They can actually interact and die from the killer if they're not careful, which makes them all freak out and escalates the stakes, which is fun.
As it should.
It is fun. And it keeps it interesting, I think. Like, allows them to add like all these different elements of the movie within it. So like for example, we get this like crazy slow motion sequence towards the end of the film, which I read that they originally it's slow motion. I read that they originally like wanted it to be like 3 minutes long. The slow motion sequence, which I already feel like it felt really long.
Yeah, it is for sure.
You're like, all right, I get it. We're in slow-mo. 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
Still there.
You know what this movie felt like? Was like you were dreaming and then you started lucid dreaming. And so you like realized that you can control it. And you know, like when you start running in a dream and like that's how you run is like in slow motion.
Yeah. That's exactly like that.
That's how it felt watching it. You were like, go, go. And like they couldn't not moving. Goodness. Okay. So anything else about the cinematography or the way it was shot before we move on to the plot and the characters?
I don't think so.
I specifically really liked their use of color. Because it added to, like, you felt like you were back in time. But then also, like, the scene when they first, like, run through the door and they all, like, wake up and they're, like, in the movie. And they're, like, in this field with all these, like, really bright colored flowers. And I was like, this is not real life. Like, you know immediately, like, something's going on.
It's like Wizard of Oz,
Yes.
where it's just suddenly Technicolor.
Yeah. So I have in my notes that the writers had written in that they wanted it to be like a Technicolor world. And when they showed up like on location, they were originally horrified because they discovered that the crew like had taken their words like super literally.
All the flowers.
And made like decorated the forest with colorful artificial flowers, which made it into the movie, but like kind of unintentionally.
It's as written. I don't have any problems.
Did what you said.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Gotta be more specific than that.
Yeah. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, Max Cartwright's mother, Amanda, complains to her that she'll only be known as the Scream Queen from the 1986 slasher Camp Bloodbath. On the way home, they get into a car accident and Amanda is killed. So it kind of sets the stage for like the mother-daughter theme that's going to like go throughout the film.
I noticed a weird thing. So in that scene where she's just getting back from her interview, Max, the daughter, is looking at her resume, and I noticed the title of one of the movies that she's on is Chopping Mall, which is a real movie, which is why I noticed it. And I was like, is Malin Ackerman in that movie? And so I'm like doing all this Googling. But Chopping Mall is like a B movie about these robots that are supposed to protect a mall but end up going crazy and killing all of these kids. And she's not in it, but it's a fun, I guess, little reference. And then I was looking at all the other movies and didn't notice anything like that. So I don't know in that one particularly they used.
Probably because it is like a
just
hilarious name. Like,
It is
I didn't know that
fun.
was a real movie, so it's hilarious.
Yeah.
So Max is played by Tasia Farmiga, who is really known for like this movie. She's also in The Nun too.
She's in both The Nun and The Nun too.
Okay.
And she's been in a few things.
Okay.
So she was in The Bling Ring, which is an Emma Watson movie, which is about like teenagers. She's the voice of Raven in the Teen Titans movies.
Oh, that's cool as hell. That was my
and then
character.
she's
when I was
also
younger.
in.
I dressed up.
She's
as her
also in a
once for
season
Halloween.
of American Horror Story. So she's been in some stuff.
Okay. Well, she's like the.
I
go ahead.
always thought that she was Vera Farmiga from The Conjuring. I always thought she was her daughter, but I found out recently she's just her younger sister, like way younger sister.
Oh God, I've been wrong for a long
She
time
looks
too.
a lot like her.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Yeah.
I
The
thought she
more
was
you
fabulous
know.
in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
she's
has that
great.
like
Yeah.
same like facial expression throughout the movie where she looks like, I don't know how to explain it, like really
She,
like shocked and like emotional, I guess.
yeah, emotional and in a constant state of mind of, are you fucking kidding me? Is this really happening?
Yeah. Like, this is a joke. It's got to be a
Yeah.
joke.
Right.
Imagine how weird it is to see your mother, who's been dead for 3 years, like just acting normally, like nothing ever happened.
And,
in
like,
front
young.
of
Oh, the
you.
scene-
Like, I would have that face.
Yeah,
too.
the scene
And
in the
doesn't know
van
you.
when she wakes up and like she has that realization that she's about to face her mom. That's a great, like, just that close up of her face and just the slow tear, and kind of she looks almost afraid
realization
to
yeah.
learn, to turn around and see her mom,
Yeah.
which I feel that would probably be legit.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tasia and then Malin Ackerman, who plays her mom, have a really, really good chemistry, and it like it comes across so well. Like you can really feel the emotion, and I just think I know we've like harped on it already, but I just feel it's surprising for this type of movie, like how real the emotion feels in it.
I think Malin Ackerman does this specific type of character really well. That's kind of what she's typecast as. Like, she kind of messes stuff up and is just this like happy-go-lucky whatever, but feels bad about it kind of thing. She does that like in almost everything she's in.
Yeah, 27 Dresses.
The Proposal, she's in that one.
She's in Watchmen and The Heartbreak Kid also.
See, I know her more from Watchmen and from like Rampage. I'm like, well,
Well, you should watch 27 Dresses.
I've seen it. I don't remember
I'll
it
put
very
it on the
well.
list.
I've seen
I'll
it.
say, Dustin, we're going to watch 27 Dresses.
Damn it!
It's so good. I love that one.
So then at the double feature, Max and her friends actually end up in this slasher movie. So her friends are really extremely well cast, in my opinion. So her boyfriend, Chris, is played by Alexander Ludwig, who is from The Hunger Games, a movie that Liz and I love. And
Yeah, that's
As
true.
you should. It's
I
a
was
good
going to
movie.
say
Vikings, yeah.
and Heels, which is a wrestling show.
yeah, I think
Every
he's,
time.
of
He's got to
course,
bring wrestling every time. Every time.
he has the wrestling shirt on. And the thing in the background, the belt.
Our belt.
We will
You
bring
gotta
wrestling into this
highlight the
recording.
belt.
He's
One
getting
way
a
or
little
the
nervous
other.
about that belt, by the way. Yeah.
Why? Oh,
Because I'm still winning in our draft for this year, which is what that
Oh,
belt represents. I'm the
yes.
reigning defending champion. But it's getting tight towards the end of the year, so we'll see.
so do y'all like switch off every year, like who gets it based on who wins the draft?
no.
Oh yeah, it's who
It's
wins.
Whoever wins,
Whoever
will get
wins,
the
yeah,
belt.
gets it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Dustin has never won.
We've done it
After
one year.
year.
You say
Okay.
Dustin's never won it as if we've been doing it forever. It's our first time
Yeah.
with the prize.
As if that's false.
It's-
It's a factual statement. You have never
Can't
won.
wait to suplex
Not
you
wrong.
into the mat and take the belt from you.
Yeah.
Next we have Nina Dobrev. Dobrev. I pronounce her name like every which way. She plays Vicky.
We're here for it.
and-
Keep it up.
Yeah. She everyone knows her from the Vampire Diaries, I think.
And Degrassi.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're I watched that, but maybe not everybody would get that.
Dustin's face is making me laugh because he's like,
What?
You didn't watch Degrassi?
obviously Dustin
No, I
watched
didn't.
Degrassi,
And I didn't
guess.
watch Vampire Diaries either.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you can be lumped out of everyone.
Womp womp.
Anybody who's anybody knows. Yeah.
Jake's over there
Next
just
we have
playing
Thomas.
it cool, but he didn't know either.
No, definitely not.
Thomas Middleditch, who plays Duncan, who I think is hilarious, and he's from
Yeah.
Silicon Valley. Also another
know-
show that's great.
The scene where they like first get to the theater and he's like running to go do something and like trips over the thing
little rope
that like
divider.
Yeah.
that was like him actually like falling and hurting himself. And they're
Yes.
like, it's too funny, we have to keep it in the movie.
I think a lot of what he did was ad-libbed in the movie. Like, I think
Yeah.
between him and Adam Devine, like, it was very ad-libbed between them two.
Yeah, both of those guys
Absolutely.
are pretty well known for ad-libbing and going off script and kind of doing their own thing. His character made me laugh
And just being generally hilarious.
and just generally being hilarious. But I had to laugh really hard at his character this time around prepping for this because, as you all know, I love the genre. And you've probably had the conversations of, like, with your friends, who would survive the horror movie, who wouldn't. And I've always been known as, like, you'll survive the whole thing because you know the genre and you know these movies. I had to laugh because I'm like, no, I would probably die, and it would probably be just like he does in The Final Girls. I would get cocky.
Trying
I'd
to
be
get
like,
a
it's all
selfie
good.
with the killer.
Like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
selfie time. Machete to
Yeah,
the gut.
It makes you
Awesome.
confident for sure.
That is so funny. I don't know
Yeah.
if I would make it. Liz, what do you think?
I definitely wouldn't. unless I found a really good hiding spot and I could just like curl up and like not make
But
any
see,
noise
hiding
and just
spots don't
hide.
work in this genre. They don't work at all.
No, they don't. You get found out quick. You have to be active.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing I could do. Or here's what I do like for haunted houses, because my husband loves to do like a haunted house and he can't go if I'm not going, right? So
Yeah.
we go to haunted houses, and pretty much what I do is I get behind him and I hold onto his shirt and I just put my face in his shirt and I just close my eyes and then wake up at the end.
Wake up.
That's a
at
good
the
way
It
to
doesn't
not
exist.
make it if it was a real haunted house.
I have gone through a haunted house with Liz before, and I can confirm that was the experience.
You were just in front instead. She was
I
behind
definitely
you.
think I was the other side of the sandwich.
was
Her
behind
husband
me.
and me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, if you let go of me, Courtney, I swear. Meanwhile, I'm also screaming and terrified, just like a little bit less.
You can at least look around.
Yes, Liz is blind. I can look. That's my one skill. It's terrible. Okay, so next of the friends, we have Elia Shawcott, who plays Gertie, and you might know her as Maybe from Arrested Development.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
always.
Lovely character.
She did great in this movie. I thought she was perfectly cast.
Yeah,
Loved
I
it.
think all
She
of
plays
them were
that role
perfectly
really,
cast.
really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
agree.
She's the kind of friend everybody needs.
Mhm.
Like everybody needs a friend like that. Everybody needs a Gertie in their lives.
Yeah. And one also who's like really dry and sarcastic, and like I love that person in my friend group. They make me laugh.
Mhm.
I try really hard to be that person in my friend group. Okay, so they've landed in the movie, and the movie starts to loop. The group finds themselves reliving the opening sequence in the film and realize the only way out is to find the final girl and follow her to the end.
Every time that I watch this movie, I think of like, what movie would I want to cut the movie screen open and climb inside of? And I don't know if any of you have an answer. The best one I've come up with is a Goofy movie because
That's like the safest
the
option.
pizza looks incredible. Yeah, you're not gonna die. That's a perk for sure. But also, the pizza looks incredible, and I just want to go to a Powerline concert.
Yeah.
because
That's
it
a
looks
really
amazing.
that's a
Look
good
amazing.
point. Powerline would be awesome
all
live.
of my favorite movies, like I'm thinking of, like what movie would I want to be in? They're all incredibly dangerous. Like we've got
Yeah.
Midsommar.
Jurassic Park. Like I can't imagine like being dropped in any of these movies. Pride and Prejudice, all my rights would be stripped away. Can't do that.
But you could find your love of your life.
Mr. Darcy's
Or
already
you could
taken.
not.
Or you could end
Like,
up
no,
with,
Jake, that's not
a
how that
cousin.
story works.
No, you just end up with the cousin.
Ew. Don't make me. Okay.
Yeah, I can't say
So now we're
any of mine would be safe.
All of mine
I'm not
are.
surprised by
All
that.
of mine are very wholesome.
you would end up in Legally Blonde. Get to be a lawyer.
Bestie buds with Elwoods.
I'd probably go in Harry Potter, honestly. That'd be cool.
Probably end up
It's
fighting
also pretty
deadites
dangerous.
in a cabin in the woods, which
You-
means I'd be
and
possessed.
You would literally live out
No.
this movie, basically.
Oh, so much worse than
Yeah.
this
Oh,
movie.
no.
So much worse than this. But yeah,
It would be rated R
for sure.
Before we move on and keep talking about the movie, just for all of those that are listening who maybe aren't familiar with the term final girl, because I was not. I had no idea going into this movie that that was a thing. I'm not like attuned with the horror genre or anything like that. So I'm just going to like real quick tell you what that is. So
Good,
it refers to the last girl standing at the end of the horror movie, like especially a slasher movie. And it's usually the girl who ends up like killing the killer kind of thing. And interestingly, it was coined from a book from 1992. And the book is called Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film. So if you're intrigued enough, you can go and read that.
Basically,
and let us know how it is.
Every horror film, the most important character is a woman. That's what I've learned.
That's fact.
Yeah.
Here we
That
go.
is fact.
She's the hero.
The chosen one.
The final girl.
Sometimes you don't want to
Yeah,
be
we
the
just did
chosen
an
one in
episode
the
on
horror
our top
film,
10
though.
final
Like,
girls.
Top 10
Sometimes that
final
does not
girls.
work out
Who was
so
the
well.
top one?
Well,
You're gonna have to
Okay,
listen
fair
to
enough,
it.
fair
Listen to the
enough.
episode, Courtney. Give it away.
I have
number
no
one, my number one
patience.
was Dustin's. My number one was Dustin's number 10. I
true.
will say.
Oh, that's
Interesting.
interesting.
But as we were preparing for that, I was all focused on the hero, the heroine,
Yeah.
who's always the final girl. But there's also always the first girl, which I don't know if that's a phrase.
The first one that dies.
I'm going to coin that term. And yeah, she's always the biggest harlot
The
or whatever.
dumbest one.
She dies. Yeah. She's always one of those as well.
In this movie, that person is Chloe Bridges, who is supposed to be the final girl. And she dies
We
quickly.
didn't get enough time with her. I'm
Yeah.
very sad about that.
One thing that's interesting about her is, so in real life, she's actually married to Adam Devine. And
Really?
they
Oh.
met on this movie. So
Oh, that's
No.
cool. Fun.
Wait, okay. All right, time
They met-
out. One of my favorite podcasts is Call Her Daddy. I don't know if Jake, Dustin, if either of you have heard of this.
No.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's like a interview style podcast. It's like very raunchy. Anywho, she had Adam Devine on for an episode. It was fabulous. Like, I would highly recommend. I can send you guys a
Yeah.
link to it. But he talks about how he met his wife, and he's like, yeah, we were like both cast for this movie, and we like got on the plane. She was sitting right next to
And I
me.
didn't
She
know.
recognized me. I had no idea who she was.
Yeah.
And so she was like chatting me up, and I was like, this woman needs to stop talking. Like, oh my gosh. And then he like found out like when the driver like had all their names on the card or whatever, he was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm an asshole.
they met on the plane on the way to the set of the movie. And
That's crazy. I didn't know it was this one.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. And now
That's
they're
awesome.
in love, and they got married in 2021.
Makes
That
this movie
makes
so
their
much better.
scene in the car
Oh.
together even better to me because it's so ridiculous. And what a way to kick off a relationship.
I can't imagine being married to Adam Devine or Devine. He's like such a crazy guy. Like, I guarantee you, like, because like that's he ad-libs all those parts. Like, I bet he's like that in real life a little bit, or like a
Oh,
lot.
Sure. He's
Oh,
insane,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we also get introduced to Angela Trimber at this part in the movie. And she plays what's her name? She plays the girl who like needs to take her top off, and so they like basically like duct tape all around her so that she can't.
She's got the
Oven
like,
mitts,
muffs on
the
like they do
life
if you have
jacket.
chicken pox.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so.
She just can't control herself.
funny.
Can't
Her
help
character's
it.
name is
Especially when
Tina.
she finds Adderall.
Oh my gosh, the Adderall.
Yeah, so I think the director, either the director or the writer, like had a time when they were preparing for this movie. It must have been the writer, and he like was all like hyped up on Adderall, and like that's how the Adderall like got put into the movie.
Right, what you
Yep.
know.
The best part, the best Adderall scene for me was like at the beginning when we first meet. What's the girl, the one that's in love with the guy? She's not really a friend. She used to be a friend, but she's not a friend anymore.
Nina Dobrev's character, Vicky.
Yeah, Vicky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she
Vicky.
used to be
she
Max's
she
friend.
like pops one in her mouth and then starts chewing it, and I was like, chewing on an Adderall. What are you doing? It's like, what is this?
I think it just goes to show that people recreationally do Adderall.
It's
Like, they
that's
don't
called
know what they're
experience
Yeah,
doing.
she's
Right
like borderline and
Yeah.
borderline an addict. She's just dry
Yeah.
chewing Adderall.
Like, they're Tic Tacs. They literally called them Tic Tacs in the movie. She was like, Tina had too many of my Tic Tacs. But anyway, Chloe Bridges' character dies like very early on in the movie, and so that's kind of like what we were talking about before. The characters realizing they're in the movie, and now they have to change the plot because now a new virgin has to be the final girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like Yoda in Empire. There is another virgin. I'm pretty sure that's an exact line that Yoda says.
So we get to the set of the camp, which was an actual Girl Scout camp that they used.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how they made it super like Technicolor and bright and all the artificial flowers. They also had to construct the main cabin for the booby trap sequence because the cabin that was like already at the Girl Scout camp wasn't conducive to the like camera that they had.
It was too small. They couldn't get all of their rigging in.
But also due to their budget, they didn't have budget to like tear it down. So they had to make it structurally sound enough to be able to leave it for the camp.
That's why that it's cheaper to build a cabin and leave it than to build it and then tear it down, I guess.
Demo's expensive. It is crazy how expensive demolition is. Like for no reason. Like literally I could run in there and like start throwing stuff at it. Like
Yeah, demolition is the funnest part.
$100
I would do it
I'm
for
good.
free.
I feel like they would have had a good excuse of like, we're gonna set it on fire. It's gonna blow up.
yeah.
True.
So the rest of the story centers around Billy, who is the scary killer, and he's played by Daniel Norris. And he like is hunting down the counselors and killing them off, or attempting to kill them off one by one. And along the way, we get this like beautiful mother-daughter arc that happens.
I gotta say, Billy's backstory, like, that's kind of a brutal way to get kind of injured, having a bunch of M80s tossed at you inside a shitty outhouse.
Get traumatized.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy. Like, that was the one scene where I was like, oh my God. Like, I can imagine that happening to me in real life.
Yeah.
Kind of made me sad.
It's understandable why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
Right, just straight up like,
Yeah. Relatable.
you know what? Instead of going to the other adults to be like, hey, they tossed tiny explosives at me, he's like, you know what? Let's go cut some throats.
We're
We're just gonna kill them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna whittle a mask
Right.
and grow hate in my heart for them.
Does anybody have like a favorite moment with Billy Murphy? Like when he comes up and who he attacks?
I think I have a couple from him. I really like his first interaction, the selfie time scene, because I just like Billy trying to
Yes.
figure out like what his role or like what just happened here. But the slow-mo, him jumping out of the window on fire and like chasing him, that scene is fantastic
Yes.
to me. It's so good.
Yeah, it's
a classic.
very picturesque, like that flame moment.
Yeah.
I would have to say the finale, just with the purple sky and everything, and everything leading up to it. It feels so fulfilling to watch, and he's a big part of that.
Yeah.
And then Max does the special move she has to do to kill him
Hey, man.
that
Yeah.
Duncan told her about.
Yeah, and she's like, once jumping to the end and spoiling it, but once her mom dies, she gets imbued with the
well,
final
you're right.
force and power that
I am the survivor.
he's able
do
to
this.
overcome. Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about the final scene. But before we get to that, let's talk like in more detail about the booby trap scene, because I feel like that's like one of like the really big like anticipated scenes where everybody kind of like gets together. And we talked about how it was shot with the really cool like motion control style where it's like all in one scene, or all in one take. But basically, like in that scene, everybody tries to booby trap Billy Murphy, and he comes in, and it kind of like doesn't go exactly to plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As it should.
I mean, that's like typical horror. Like,
It has to fail.
you make this plan, of course it's going to get foiled. You
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
They had to know.
And you never walk up to the killer's body just sitting still. You're gonna die.
No.
You're
You
not
got to hit
making
it
it past
10
that
times
point.
before you, like, if you think it's
Yeah.
dead, keep going. It's
Right.
not dead.
it's a Zombieland rule, double tap.
It's called a double tap, guys.
That
Come
is
on.
one thing.
Yeah.
It is cool, like
It always takes more than one.
how it's like small comedic moments like that, but they integrated so many different elements of a bunch of different slasher movies where like there's these rules of slasher movies and they're not following them, and then that's why they end up like getting killed, or their plan's not working, I guess. Yeah.
They do pick up on the music though, because every villain has their own like soundtrack or like call up song, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's a total
And
like
they do pick up on that.
Billy is such a obvious like reference to Jason, and especially with the music and the machete. So as a fan of that, like first time I watched Final Girls and they did their version for Billy, it was an instant like yes.
Yeah, I loved
doing
that
that.
walk up music. It was good. It was good.
It was fun.
And it would get you every time. Like you would know. Like it would click in your brain by the end of the movie, like, oh shit, like Billy's coming.
Well, I like that in the Final Girls they associate it not just with Billy arriving, but they're automatically like, crap, someone's taking their shirt off. So they got to go and run and be like, no.
Yeah. Somebody's getting close to sex.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Tina! Like I thought it was so funny how they like had mittens on her and like duct taped her hands, and she kept trying to like get
still
out
like
of
trying
them.
to figure out how to like how can I wiggle out of this?
You brought up the booby trap scene. It all starts off with her, and it's release the beast, and then they play Cherry Pie by Warrant, which is such a ridiculous freaking song. It was like, just when you thought the movie couldn't go more 80s, Cherry Pie comes on. You're like, well, there it is. There it is.
It was perfect.
And it's impossible for her to not start stripping.
How can you
with that
not
song.
dance to that? Like,
I'd love
come
to.
on.
Like they just kept telling her, like, not yet, we'll tell you when.
Right.
And like she kept trying. And then it actually did come. Like they were like, now. And like she like
She's like, yes, my time has come.
So then I love like the call out, like in the final scene of the movie. So we've got Max ending up becoming the final girl, and she's able to defeat Billy, the bad guy. But her mother's character ends up sacrificing herself, and she also has to like do the open shirt. Like she takes off her top, and that's how she basically like calls Billy to the scene.
Yeah.
But it's like so emotional, like weirdly emotional.
It is.
That she's
well, she
like,
doesn't do
when
like
she's playing the song, the Betty Davis eyes.
She doesn't do a real like strip tease. I mean, the worst she does is she unbuttons the shirt, facing the woods at first, and then she just maintains eye contact, doing like middle school
silly,
style dancing, like, I guess you could say. Versus
This
swaying
movie's
back and
PG-13. It can't be a real strip tease.
Right. But they're seen together.
It's wholesome in the sense that it's I'm sacrificing myself for you, my daughter, so you can live through this.
I love that scene. I think for a movie that is so invested in being silly and kind of poking fun and being tongue in cheek with the genre, to have that scene in the chapel be so emotional between mom and daughter, or character and daughter. I love that scene. I think it balanced the movie out really, really well. Shockingly, you're like, this got emotional. What the heck? Luckily, the final fight is so ridiculous that you're like, yes.
They were quick to move on
wipe
from it.
Right, you're like,
tears.
damn it.
I want to see this.
One thing that I thought was interesting too was that Max's mom, like, had a realization of who she actually was, which I thought was kind of interesting because she's like this younger version of her who is Max's mom, but then she becomes herself from the beginning of the movie. And like they don't really explain how that happens, but I do think that's really cool to like get that moment.
Yeah,
and there's a really quick like nod to that could be a possibility when they first interact, and she stops her from having sex and saves her life at the beginning. Because she basically says the same line that she said in the car, that you must think I'm a total zero or whatever she says, and it's their conversation. It kind of takes Max off guard. She's like, do you
know who I am?
Right.
I think it goes to show that this movie is like actually like very well written, because I think it's really easy to like look at this movie at the surface value and be like, or surface face value, and like be like, oh, like it's just like a silly like slasher comedy movie, like it's probably not that good. And then you watch it and you're like, okay, wait, like this movie is actually so well written. It has depth to it. It has the comedy and the emotion. And like there's so many little bits like that where you're like, that's actually like good writing, like not just mediocre writing to get little nods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. 100%.
So then Max saves the day and becomes the final girl.
By like sliding on her knees underneath the knife going past her face. It's so cool.
I loved it.
You fucked with the
It
wrong
was a little-
virgin.
Yeah. Favorite quote of the movie, honestly. Actually, I think my favorite quote of the movie is a line between Adam Devine and what's his name? Alexander Ludwig. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kurt, who's Adam Devine's
talking
character,
about
says,
when
"What are you?
my dads are gay.
What are you, a fag?" And he says, "My dads are gay, so shut the hell up."
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, right. Gay guys can't have kids. They're too busy going to the discos and having sex with each other." It's actually a pretty cool lifestyle.
Yeah, he does a great job of balancing, like, I'm the super misogynistic character that just wants to have sex with all these girls, but also
Kind of get
I'm
it.
pretty yeah, I'm also pretty cool and fun, and he balances
You
it
know what
so
else I
well.
thought was good about that is like they're trying to nod to the 80s, right? Which was like a totally different
Yeah.
time. And this movie came out in 2015. So like it's hard to make that like jokes about like things like gay comedy, like PC basically. But I think doing it that
Yeah,
way.
it's hard to put the word fag in your movie and make it
Yeah. I'm nervous about releasing that on YouTube, to
But
be
they did
perfectly
it.
honest.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then at the end of the movie, we get the bit where we find out that all the friends are actually entering the sequel to the Bloodbath movie. Camp Bloodbath
Yeah.
2. What is it called?
It's literally called Camp Bloodbath.
Camp
2.
Bloodbath 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Duncan's line is, "Oh, the sequel, it's so much cooler than the first one."
And he's still just like fangirling.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
Yes.
I am
we're, like,
totally that
on
guy.
the sidelines for this entire first one, and now you think it's cool? Okay.
Yes.
He's probably happy to be back. He's
Happy
like,
to be
"I'm
back,
back for the sequel.
just to be
I
able to
can't wait."
watch it all unfold again. It's so good.
Literally don't know how he lived through that.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know.
Okay. So before we wrap up, do y'all have anything else you want to talk about? Any favorite quotes? Anything from the movie we didn't get to?
I think
So I think I covered it all.
you definitely said one of mine, which is the interaction about like my dads are gay, and he's like, gay guys can't have kids. That scene makes me laugh every time.
So ridiculous.
And then Jake had the line of the movie of "You just fucked with the wrong virgin." That could almost be the title of the movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. I liked that one.
There were two others that made me laugh out loud. One of them is during when they first get into the flashback scene for the first time, and Gertie says, "Why am I colorblind? Am I having a stroke?" Which I just thought was like,
yeah, that was
hysterical.
funny. Her character is so funny throughout the movie.
And then at the very beginning, when they first get into the movie and they have no idea where they are, they've all just woken up. And Gertie says, "Maybe we're dead and this is heaven." And Vicky goes, "This can't be heaven. Max is here and she's Jewish."
Yep.
And I was just
There's
like,
a lot of those,
"Oh
like,
my God."
quick little lines that reward if you missed it the first time.
Yes.
You just picked it
Yes,
on
that's so
subsequent
funny.
viewings.
That's one that I definitely did not appreciate upon my watch of the movie, so that's hilarious. Amazing. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the discussion about the
think
movie.
so.
So I think it's time to go into our ratings. And as a reminder, we rate all of our movies through Letterboxd, which uses a 0 to 5-star rating system with half-star increments. And Jake and Dustin will let the movie boners, well, each of you individually rate the movie first.
I really like it. I think I would put it around 4 stars, just because it's so fun and so enjoyable, but also has that depth and heart. It's up there for me for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with
Great
Jake.
rating.
It's a 4. Maybe even for me, almost a 4.5. It's right up there. I enjoy this movie more every time I watch it. And as a fan of all of that, to me, it's like Cabin in the Woods, but I kind of appreciate this one more than Cabin in the Woods because it has more fun, I think, like genuine fun, and it's unique. And yeah, that mother-daughter storyline it's so well written. I think the movie is underappreciated, so I feel like I have to give it a boost.
Yeah, encourage people to
Yes.
see it for sure.
I agree. I definitely think this movie is underappreciated. Like, nobody really knows about this movie, and it's so good, so well written.
Yeah.
Liz, what about you? What did you rate this movie?
So I also gave this 4 stars. I had
Wow.
like a blast watching this movie. I'm so glad, Jake and Dustin, that y'all recommended this for an episode for us to do this together, because I don't think I would have watched it otherwise. It was not on my
Yeah,
radar. But I think the comedy horror genre like might be one of my favorites now for Halloween, which is super cool. So like thank y'all for introducing me to
really?
that.
Dustin's gonna send you a list of things,
And you're
homework
probably
that you
going
need to do now.
text me back and be like, no, this was not funny.
No. Yeah, we should maybe vet them first,
Yeah.
because the things Dustin finds funny, we've established, might go a little further.
Well, I have a recommendation for y'all too. It's a comedy horror that just came out. I saw it like a few days ago, and we already talked about it before we started recording, but it's called Totally Killer. It's got the same vibes. It also brings in the 80s slasher movies. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
To see
Anyone
it.
else
yeah,
listening,
before.
if you like this type of movie, like that one's a good one, and it's free on Amazon Prime. So,
Oh, cool.
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, y'all are gonna hate me because I'm gonna break the 4-star streak.
Oh, no.
I know.
Because it's 5
No,
stars.
I rated it 3.5 stars.
So sad.
Yeah,
Close.
I almost wanted to like pretend I rated it 4 stars for a second just to like make it fun.
Just for the
Yeah, but I
continuity.
can't lie, so that's no fun.
I appreciate the honesty.
But I love this movie. I echo like a lot of the things that y'all said. I think I could have handled like a little bit more slasher and a little bit more like nudity or like truly like out there jokes. And so I think that would have like elevated it to that like 4.5 star realm for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see
That's
that.
fair.
But overall, I would highly recommend a watch.
All right, so now it's time for a few write-ins. And like we've already said, most people haven't seen this. So most of the write-ins I got were like, haven't seen this one. Should I watch it? It's like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
so-
you
So,
should.
but anyway, we did
Yes.
get 2.
The answer is yes.
We got 2 write-ins. And one is from my husband, Hayden, who watched the movie with me. But he said, can't believe they did my man, Adam Devine, like that.
Yeah,
That's
true.
And then the second one is from an account called Dan Loves Film, and he said decent, good bit of fun for a horror film.
Decent.
Yeah. Decent,
TTFO.
huh? Well,
I'm just kidding. Dan, we like you. Hello. Okay, so what does the world think of the movie?
Yeah, okay. So the scores, when I was putting this all together, they're all over the place. And Courtney, I know you're going to tell us, but I was shocked. Like when I was putting this all together, I was like, oh, how dare you?
So the Letterboxd average is 3.2 out of 5, which is like kind of average for Letterboxd.
It's so much lower than I thought it was going to be for like a comedy.
And then Tomato Meter was 74%, which I think is a pretty respectable Tomato Meter score. They could have easily rated it like this genre, I feel like could easily be like a super ridiculously low score, but it got a
it
respectable
typically
score.
is, yeah.
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 It typically is.
like it could have been like a 16% movie and it was a 74% movie. So I think we're successful here.
We have like already established that we think the tomato meter critics are like not real.
Oh,
like,
Jake and I have a whole episode
credentials?
about
We don't
just
believe
ripping
them.
into Rotten Tomatoes.
Like-
So,
Well, the problem is most people misuse or misunderstand what the rating even means and think it's like a rating of quality. But yeah, I also agree that the ratings for the critics, especially at Rotten Tomatoes, are either not real or I don't know.
being
they need to be
paid off.
infiltrated by more B critics, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, they definitely are.
I mean, that came out this year.
yeah, that just came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that like outside marketing companies have been paying critics to write reviews on.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me like at all, to be honest, because it's like the same as like getting an Instagram influencer to like promote your product, right? Like,
Right.
but that's it's not the same though. Like this is
It's
like okay, the audience.
I just think if you're gonna be a critic, okay, like a real critic, like we are not real critics, but if you're gonna be a real critic, like your opinion should not matter. Like it should be completely based on like quality of the movie. And they start getting into like, oh, I didn't enjoy it. It's like, all right, well, no one cares if you enjoyed it or not.
Right. It's like totally subjective. Your personal opinion.
Every
of
movie
whether
is
it's your style
completely
that you enjoy or
subjective.
not.
It's their movies.
Yeah, 100%. At like,
anyways, off the tomato meter.
I think me and Liz have learned through doing this podcast that like a movie that one person like loves 5 stars could be a movie that another person hates 0 stars.
Oh.
So like it just
Jake
really
and I have
is
so
very
many of
dependent on
those.
who watches it, how you watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot, that some of our most loved movies people shit on constantly.
Well, me and Liz encounter where like the two of us have opposite opinions of a movie. And it's so interesting how that can happen because like we're really similar in a lot of ways. And then we've discovered that like with the movies, like sometimes we're very different.
Yeah, that is, I think, very interesting. That's one of the things. I think one of your first movies that I saw your reviews, and it was Jurassic Park, and it was like drastically different. I was like, who are these girls?
Right,
And what are they
I
doing?
did Jurassic Park dirty.
I'm not
I
gonna
did.
lie. Like when I saw that, I was like, Jake, I don't know. I don't know about these guys.
Yeah. Should we send their email to spam? I don't know.
Because of the low Jurassic Park rating?
Yeah,
I'm okay
yeah,
with
it's
that.
very
we
much
need to
like-
shun Liz into oblivion for that one.
So I told my daughter about that rating, and Jurassic Park is her like all-time favorite. She adores that film.
It's
we
getting
have
around.
Jurassic Park shit everywhere.
People know.
I told her that, and she even looked at me and she was like, "She's crazy, Dad." And I was like,
I am a little bit. I will take that. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Getting what you deserve, Liz. I'm just okay. Audience score 71%, IMDb 6.5 out of 10, and then 77% of Google users liked this movie.
"Yeah." I think
So,
that 6.5.
In general, well liked.
Yeah, I think the 6.5, especially for this genre, is actually doing pretty well, considering a lot of the times they're
agree.
like 4s to 5.6 or whatever. So 6.5 for this
Yeah.
unknown film, I think it's a success, at least enjoyment
Yeah.
wise, because it wasn't box office wise at all.
Yeah, I think if more people saw it, it would likely go up.
Yes, I agree. I've been telling everyone I know, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to go watch this movie. And they're like, okay, like, whatever. But yeah, I'm spreading the word, okay?
Good, as you
we're
should.
We're going to
Good.
get these scores up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up our ratings. So, Jake, Dustin, y'all should plug your stuff and tell the people where to find the movie boners.
We're at Movie Boners with a Z on pretty much everything. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're never on Twitter. We're never on Threads either, but we have all of those things. Mostly on YouTube, everywhere you can find a podcast. And you can see all of the podcast platforms and also episodes at movieboners.com. If you accidentally go to Movie Boners with an S, don't worry. You won't find anything weird. We own that as well. You go to the same place.
We got it
So
covered.
Movie Boners, keep it in mind.
Love that so
That's my
much.
favorite part of your tagline.
Yes.
That is literally my fave.
I was waiting
It was
for
a
it.
very specific decision early on. It's like, we need to protect
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
If we're choosing this
I
name,
usually
let's
get,
just
like, when I go and buy
go
the
all
beer
in.
for the episodes, I'll get asked like, oh, you need help finding anything? So I always have to explain the podcast. And every time I tell them, because they'll get their phones out to look it up, and I'm like, well, it's Movie Boners. And they'll stop at the BON, and they'll look at me. I'm like, it's a Z. You're safe. I promise.
Yep,
I promise.
That's so funny. Thank y'all so much for coming on. This was like a blast. Y'all are hilarious. We love the takes. And thank you so much for the recommendation to watch The Final Girls. It was such a fun movie.
Very happy you guys enjoyed it. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you for having us. Lots of fun.
Yeah, of course. So much fun. All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to y'all. So, bye.
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 And bye, Be Critics fam. Thanks for tuning into our Final Girls episode. Leave us a rating, a review, drop a comment on our YouTube, and leave us an answer to our poll and Q&A section on Spotify. Also, don't forget to share the podcast with a friend, because that's the best way to help us grow our community.
Totally agree. Share with a friend. And you can find more information about the podcast and our whole podography on our website, bcriticspodcast.com, or you can find links to all the things on our Linktree in the episode show notes.
Next week, we are closing out our spooky season, and we're doing Halloween, the 2018 version, with Film vs. Film podcast. And it's going to come out the day before Halloween. So I hope you're all ready for that, like, Halloween timeline.
I'm so ready. I've been loving this spooky season of movies. And everybody be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss anything. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
All right. I think that's it. We'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye, guys.